Well, Michelle McCormick, platform lead here for communications over here at EVOTEK. On to our next and final session, impacting the call center today. I'm pretty excited to bring to you Dialpad. So Dialpad is one of the leading cloud communication platform solutions. You can have communications, messaging, meeting, and contact center all in a singular experience and application. Not only can you have that, but you can have that layered with artificial intelligence. And so, not to steal any thunder, but excited to introduce to you Mike Kane. He is the senior VP or global VP, of channel, and he will be going ahead and taking the floor today and giving you a breadth and insight as to Dialpad and how they differentiate and are impacting the space today.
Awesome. Thank you, Michelle. And good to talk to you all today. Michelle, thank you as always for the opportunity. EVOTEK's a fantastic partner for Dialpad, and looking forward to hopefully working with some of you. So as Michelle shared, my name is Mike Kane. I lead our channel program here at Dialpad, our sales organization. I have with me Chris Candelaria. He is one of our sales engineers, and he's going to join me today to walk through a demo. So Chris, if you could advance the next slide. I'm going to take about 10 minutes, folks, to give you an overview of Dialpad. And what our CCAS offering looks like. And then from there, I'm going to hand it off to Chris, who's going to walk through about a 15-minute demo. Any questions that you may have, go ahead and shoot them into those comments and we can get you an answers back right away. And then we can save some time at the end as well. So for those of you who are not familiar with Dialpad, we've been around for about 10 years. Company has over 1,000 employees now and is well over 150 million in revenue, growing at about 50%. So if you guys are don't know our brand yet, you should see it quite soon. If you look at some of the venture capitalists, just to see who's backing Dialpad, you might know Dialpad. The founders of Google Voice are the founders of Dialpad. So Craig Walker is our founder and CEO. Google Ventures was our first VC. And then from then you can see some of the VCs that are on our board. If you look at some of the brands that have chosen Dialpad, we got some exciting brands out there, folks like, Uber, the rideshare company, Twitter, Splunk. And if you look at some of the industry recognition, one of the most recent ones is T-Mobile, who now also became an investor in Dialpad, chose Dialpad and looking at all the other UCaaS and CCaaS providers out there, and chose us to go to market. And you're going to start to see T-Mobile come out with an offering that's around 5G and then bundling Dialpad and as well as contact center out into the market. You can see that you can access that from EVOTEK as well, that bundle, if that's a 5G offering that you're interested in. And then lastly, you're going to see us from Gartner, they recognize us in the Magic Quadrant for UCaaS. So if you go to the next slide. So we wanted to share, we see some fast emerging trends that are redefining the customer experience. Obviously, I've been sitting through all the sessions today. It's been a really, really great sessions today, just top speakers. And same themes apply here. There are just now new requirements for the modern customer engagement. We feel it has to be adaptive. Workers are now displaced working from anywhere, and they need a platform that is scalable, that can get them up and running in minutes. I heard from another session the same term, multi-presence. Consumers just want to reach out over not just omnichannel, but whatever's going to come next. And in this ever-evolving space, especially on the mobile worker, multi-presence, it's just a requirement. In addition to that, we think you need to have intelligence or AI across that entire platform. And that's not just for the customer, that's also for the agent, to make that agent more productive when they're working from anywhere. It needs to be unified, right? So we all communicate and collaborate in lots of ways now, and they've all merged together, be it video or messaging or your business phone or your chat. It all has to be unified. And then lastly, it needs to be proactive. And the shift to the profit center has already begun, and we see that more and more. It's so critical, that customer experience, when you finally do get somebody on the phone, how critical that experience is. In most cases, 80% of the interactions that happen typically don't get to a phone call, right? They're resolved through other ways, which we're going to talk about and how Dialpad can support that as well. But when you do get on the phone, your customers on the phone, how critical is that they have a good experience? And we're going to talk about how we call it voice intelligence, or AI can assist that. So in Dialpad, we feel we had the most advanced customer engagement platform, out there currently. And I've heard others say this as well, but we just had a bit of an unfair advantage. We're post cloud, we're post iPhone, we're built on GCP, and that enables us to just innovate in a very quick way. On the inbound modern CCaaS, this is for agents that are, again, working from anywhere. That A is going to enable them to be more productive. On outbound, so for your folks in your organizations who are actually calling customers, we're going to show you here we have an AI-powered sales and proactive service platform. From the digital side, your chat, your email, your messaging, all of that's going to come across, and we're going to share with you an exciting acquisition that we just made to better support that. We call this TrueCast. So essentially, one platform, you can spin up agents very quickly. You can take them down very quickly. You don't have to go back and forth. Chris is going to show you. It's just one application, and you can just add users as you need. And then ultimately on workforce engagement, through partnerships and through our own offering, this is a requirement now in the modern world to make sure those agents are more productive. So how we do this is through, we call it voice intelligence. This is Dialpad acquired a company called TalkIQ about 3 years ago, and this is our own proprietary real-time recognition and NLP engine. So essentially what that does, we have different inputs that come into this voice intelligence engine. Again, it's your voice, it could be your video, it's now also your messaging. And what that AI does is it builds out these ASR models that listens for the sentiment, it listens for moment identification, and then ultimately it's going to move that into better outputs. So that's your real-time transcripts, and we're going to show you what that looks like. That's different topics that are trending whenever your agents or your customer-facing workers are working with customers. You're going to see new topics and trends start to develop. You're going to see these moments develop. Let's say you're doing a new campaign, and you're going to see trends emerge. We're going to be able to capture all that and then put some analytics around it. And then ultimately, what's so important is the sentiment, right? Ultimately, how was that conversation? How was that experience? How was that chat impacting the customer sentiment? So we feel it's the new generation of customer engagement. You have to have a 100% uptime, in our opinion, right? This cannot go down. This is mission critical. It has to be we call it work beautifully. It has to be a good design. Again, users are now working from anywhere. They don't have somebody over their shoulder. So it has to be intuitive. They're going to have to be able to work around their way around the platform in an intuitive way. Again, it has to be mobile, working from anywhere. The advanced analytics, we would argue, is one of the most powerful things of the platform, is the ability to mine the data that happens from every single voice conversation and now chat as well. One way to think about it, folks, is like we were sharing, whenever you get on the phone, by then you either been trading chats or emails. When you finally get on the phone with another business person, there's going to be some kind of outcome. And previously, we would just know there's an outcome. We just didn't know how we got there. It kind of went into the ether. Well, now with Dialpad, you can go and you can collect all of that data, and you can see, how did you actually get to that outcome and what words were actually being said. And then ultimately, you need the platform to work with all of your other SaaS applications. And so with our open-ended APIs, we can, essentially integrate with any other SaaS application out there. And this is enabling us a way to scale out into many different industries. So proactive customer engagement, and we're going to show you this, and I'll stop talking so you guys can see it. It's pretty powerful. It's the ability, when the AI is listening to words being said, to give these real-time assist cards or prompts or coaching moments to the agent. It's really powerful that it enables folks, especially if you think about high churn organizations and salespeople, and sometimes you have a lot of churn. This is a way to make sure when you have that new person come in, that they're able to be as productive as possible. And exciting to share, Dialpad just acquired a company called Care Knowledgeware. Care was one of the leading folks in digital deflection. And so what that does is that it makes sure that those chats that, again, in most cases, customers want to chat. They don't want to talk to anybody. So they chat, and chat. Now, you don't want to go fumbling around. And so what the AI does here is guide that chat conversation for a better self-service experience. And then ultimately, if you do need to talk to an agent, when you get on with them, you're going to have a good experience as well, powered by our voice intelligence. So lastly, and then I'm going to hand it off to Chris, we feel the ability to have one application that goes across your talk, your messaging, your video conferencing, and your contact center, that's all integrated with all your other applications, is the modern contact center, modern business offering. You're able to get more done when you're working from anywhere, and you're able to consolidate all those different applications that are on your desktop and boost that productivity. So with that, I'm going to hand it off to Chris, who's going to walk you through it. And then if you have any questions, throw them in that chat, and I'll be sure to answer them.
Fantastic. Thanks for teeing that up so much, Mike. So essentially what I'm going to be showing you today is a brief overview of Dialpad. My name is Chris Candelaria. I'm a Dialpad channel sales engineer here. And I'm not going to be able to show you everything with the time we have today, but I'm just going to give you some of the highlights. And if anybody's really interested to kind of have something custom tailored for them, we are more than happy to be able to do something a little more personal to kind of go into your specific business needs. But essentially what you're seeing on my screen right now, this is Dialpad running on my Windows PC. You have the ability to run Dialpad on multiple different platforms. Whether you're a Mac user, whether you run this on iOS or Android, we have mobile options. We got you covered, including the ability to actually run this as a web tab. So if you find yourself away from your business or your business computer, you have the ability to still get to all your business communications. And one of the main things that's really important for at least we feel it here at Dialpad is to ensure that everything's a single pane of glass. So you notice here that my call centers are integrated into the actual UCaaS UI. So it's not a different pane of glass or anything like that you have to mess with to get to contact center, and it's within the actual application. So it makes it really simple. If somebody's familiar with the normal telephony desktop app, they can very much make that switch into being an agent, especially, and that's really great for those situations where maybe you have certain times a year where you need to have some additional headcount, to cover the volume of calls that are coming in. The next thing that I really kind of want to highlight before I just go ahead and place a call as an agent is because due to that transcription engine that we have, it's running through everything that we have, whether it's UCaaS, CCaaS. It makes it really simple to search cross channels. Just like you would in an email. Maybe you had a conversation a few days ago. You don't remember who it was specifically with, but you kind of remember what it was about. So we have this really deep search ability to essentially be able to just take keywords and be able to not only search through all of my text messages that come in, but also through the voice messages, which are actually transcribed in real time in our system, as well as all of the business calls that are coming into our system. So any call that you want within the platform, if you wanted to have those transcribed, they're transcribed again in real time, and I can search through those to quickly find all of those calls that may have those particular keywords. So, and again, we'll get into this a little more when I get to the analytics, because that becomes very, very powerful. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm not going to cover the UCaaS part, but I'm going to just go right into a call. You'll notice that there's these different color codes here for the different call centers that I have. This is if you have somebody that's in multiple different queues that they manage, right? It makes it really simple visually so that they can just simply see which call center is coming in. It's this purplish color. I'm going to go ahead and answer that. I'm going to mute my far end so I don't get an echo. So just 1 second. So I go ahead and muted that far end. So you'll notice though immediately what happens is this transcript pops up. Now this is amazing for a couple reasons. One is it's pretty much instant. It's very highly accurate as well. And this is great for those agents that maybe are in a really loud environment. Maybe they can't hear the other caller as well as they'd like to. They can have that transcript running that will be able to essentially give them a full accounting of what's happening on this call. If they ask multiple questions, right, they're able to go back in time and see all those questions. They're also able to have a record of this on the back end of the call as well. In case, for quality assurance and things like that, which I'll show. We're going to talk about more about this in just a second, though. The agent experience, with any kind of platform that's truly next generation, thinking next generation of call center, not only is it important, in our opinion, to have it all in one platform, but just to make it really simple, to go across that, multi-presence that Mike was just talking about. So we have that option, so ability to essentially, converse with somebody in an agent situation, maybe that call needs to go into like a text message, right? Maybe you need to share, something, with them, via message or SMS. So you can share pictures back and forth. If you're troubleshooting something, hey, can you take a picture of that device, right? All that is right here. If you need to even escalate this into, say, a meeting, you can launch a Dialpad meeting. It'll launch right from within this application as well. So it's going across those channels to really reach your customers, wherever they may be and however they want to interact. So you can have that one-to-one video conference if you need it. The other thing is we're integrating a lot of different things into this environment. Dialpad being as extensible as it is, meaning it can grow with your operation as it expands. We have not only the operation to scale our platform massively, but also have the ability, due to the fact that it's built on microservices, to add in a lot of integrations. Like Mike was mentioning Care. We have also integrations with major players like Playvox and for WFM and or WEM. But lots of major CRMs as well can be integrated right into Dialpad. So for instance, I have Salesforce here. I also have Zendesk and HubSpot, just to name a few of the major CRMs that we have. Now, the great thing about this is because this call is being transcribed, as I mentioned, it's also being recorded. There will be a link that gets put into that CRM, whether it be your Salesforce or Zendesk, so where you can have all of the information about your customer experience in one spot. So you have that transcript, you'll have that call recording, and any notes or anything that maybe that you felt pertinent to add. The next thing is you do have all these different call transfer and adding the calls, all the different things that are table stakes. You do have that ability to also see presence because it's pulling in from Office 365 or G Suite. So the calendar event of the person that you're about to transfer to, you can see if they're in a meeting or not. You can see if they're on a video call and have some options around, how you want to handle that call if you need to transfer. But I want to go back to our AI really quickly for a minute. Not only are we basically transcribing the entire call in real time, it's giving me little tips. As you can see, I'm talking pretty fast. If I'm monologuing for a long period of time, it'll give me other little assists as well. But it's listening to contextually what I'm saying in the call. Now, what that means is a call center manager can essentially make things that will pop up for an agent. Now, this is really important because you consider a call center agent is basically about 2/3 the cost of a typical call center, right? So being able to give them timely and important information to get them to the information they need quickly is really, really valuable. So for instance, if somebody said, I need to schedule an appointment, right? The call will actually listen to this to, if somebody's asking to schedule that appointment, and a card will come up, which will, can be a link to a scheduler, for instance. Now I have this scheduler here. Now I can be scheduling this call, and I have this little Dialpad Everywhere widget that kind of hovers over the top of everything, which is really valuable because if I'm in a custom CRM or if I'm in a scheduler, I want to still have access to all my call controls, right? And I also have access to the CRMs that I was talking about as well. So my Salesforce, my Zendesk, HubSpot, just to name a few of those that we have access to here. Next thing is you still have access to that transcript. And if somebody says something else, like I need to track a package, where's my shipment, right? They can continually have these little assists that come up that will give them essentially a helpful link, that takes them directly to where they need to go. If they're a support individual, for instance, if somebody says, hey, I'm having an outage right now, I need to get back up as quickly as possible. You can have a card that comes up and addresses that outage, right? It gives them a script to follow, maybe a link to a knowledge base of, of something to report this outage. If I'm in sales, for instance, this could be really valuable for those agents that are ramping, right? That maybe doesn't know the product set for instance, if I'm selling musical instruments and somebody asks me about guitars, I don't play a guitar, so I don't know much about it. But you can have essentially a card that comes up that talks about all the different varieties of guitars that maybe your company sells, right? And with some details around each of these things, and maybe even who the resident expert is in your company that you could bring in to this call if you get stuck, right? With a link to a knowledge base that maybe gives you all the information that you'd ever need to know about, guitars. So a lot of ways that this can be used. It's not just limited to these simple pop-ups, but there's a lot of our customers absolutely love this for steering agent behavior, for training, for simply just reducing the number of clicks that an agent has to do, to get to the resources that they need, right? So the next thing I'm going to show you, again, based on the AI that this call is listening to in the background, contextually trying to figure out what's happening. Agents nowadays, due to COVID and everything, call centers have changed. Where agents are sitting, they're not necessarily in the same office, as somebody, as the manager, for instance. But the managers still need to know if there's something that's happening live on a call that they need to, pay attention to. So, for instance, if Bruce here said, I am super frustrated, I am angry, and I need to speak to a manager right now. I'm going to take my business to LexCorp, which is WayneTech's main competitor. These are all things that essentially a supervisor can have come up to. Maybe they're in their cell phone here. So you notice that could be a supervisor's cell phone. I could have these notifications come to their cell phone while they're on lunch or something, something that could be, really important, for them to know that's happening in their call center. It's also coming to my desktop application here as well. So I'm going to click over this really quick. And what it does is it essentially is showing me, what's been triggered as far as a notification, some frustration on the call, maybe a competitor was mentioned. And as a supervisor, I can click on this. Now, the great thing is I have access now to this call purpose. Now, the AI in our system essentially has looked at the call and seen that this is what the purpose is. So I can read that as a supervisor. I also have the ability to see that, this call is turned negative. There's a sentiment analysis that's running real time in the background that tells whether it goes positive, if it goes negative, or maybe it's just neutral. We haven't quite figured out, where this call is tracking. But you see that it's taken me right into this real-time transcript. I can scroll back and I can see that moment where that person said they were super frustrated and they were angry and they needed to speak to that manager. So I can, as a manager, kind of see where it went off the rails, and I can go back in time into this transcript and kind of see organically what happened up to that moment where they needed that manager. And so it kind of gives me a direction of maybe where I need to take this as a manager. Maybe I can just listen into this call. I can click on this button here. I can listen in. I can click on my agent. I can message back and forth between myself and the agent to try to get this call back on track. And if they insist on still speaking to a manager, I have the ability to barge into that call as well. So I can take that over to correct that situation. So a lot of really great tools based on that intelligence that's trying to figure out what's happening in the call to not only assist an agent, but also a manager as to what's happening in real time. So I'm gonna go ahead and hang up on this call, and I want to kind of talk quickly about our analytics, and really let's first kind of talk about the real-time analytics. These are all things that are super important for a company to have. They need to know what's happening, live. So we do have this, be able to blow this up as a dashboard and actually see all the important KPI metrics that are for your company, as well as seeing it in historicals, what's happening in days, weeks, months. These are all things that is all available over that period of time. Now, the next thing I just kind of want to touch on as well is our call summary. Now, the call summary is really kind of the heart of where all of our analytics come from. Essentially, the call summary is used for the transcription. It's used for the call recording. All of this information is stored in this document. Now, what the cool thing is, you're actually able to see all those moments that were triggered on that call. Whether it be frustration or competitors, you're able to comment on parts of the call. You're able to actually score the call as a whole as well, to be able to see where maybe this call could have been better based on questions, as well as put into playlists. So maybe you want a playlist for those new agents, or maybe for supervisors, so that you can change behaviors of your agents, to make them never do that one thing again, or to praise them, on things. You're also able to affect the agent by actually creating those real-time assist cards, like I was just showing you. This is how you create them. You can create one from scratch, or you can select from a template. And essentially, you can just tweak these a little bit to, with the pricing information, for instance. I chose one for pricing. You can include a link, pretty much any link you wanted, whether it's be a pricing page on a website or a knowledge base, and then any phrase, basically could be a phrase, a word, a sentence, something along those lines. And you can even choose which side of the conversation is triggered by. So a lot of really important tools that you can do that, as well as creating those moments. And you can choose whether or not those alert a manager. Now, what's really cool about this is you're able to actually really dig into these analytics, and you're able to actually search from a company level, office level. You're able to basically search by keywords, as well as doing something that's really, really cool. And this is what I'll end on. Essentially, we have something that's called CSAT 360. Now, what this is I don't know if I'm not one of those people that have the time for one of those press buttons at the end of a call to tell us how we did, mashing buttons for 5 minutes. What this does is essentially is a AI driven CSAT score. Now, this is beta, but any of our customers can try this out that they want. Now, what it's doing is it's marrying together that sentiment analysis I showed you, the call purpose. It's listening to things at the end of the call that says, hey, if the agent says, "Did I satisfy your issue today?" and they say yes, or they say heck no, that's all captured by this. And you can even see here, this is on the vertical is the perceived AI-driven CSAT score, and on the right is the horizontal axis is how long your agents are taking on this particular item. So you can quickly kind of see what's sucking up the most of your agent's time, as well as how those particular things are driven over a period of time. So maybe you make a real-time assist card, a couple months ago, and you can start seeing maybe that particular item starts to get a little bit better based on the coaching that you're getting from your agents. Or if you just want to know stacked ranked, what are the reasons why people are calling? What are the top reasons people are calling into your company for a particular thing? These are all here available in our analytics. Now, I know my time is up here, but I wanted to kick it over back to Mike, maybe to handle some questions. But we'd love to be able to show you more if anybody has any interest in that.
That was awesome, Chris. Thanks for showing that. And I would say, so those reasons that he was showing for customer calls, that is one of the areas that our customers are leveraging Dialpad Contact Center for the most, is really apply that analytics to what those customer conversations are yielding. Michelle, any questions? I know we have 3 minutes left before we wrap up an awesome day.
Yeah, there was a question around transcription services and being able to control those services. So who could see them and who actually can utilize those services from the Dialpad side?
Great question. Yeah, it's totally controllable by the administrator. You could have it for certain agents. Let's say for some of the executives, you want to have that turned off. You can enable it so the user can turn it on and turn it off as they will, or you can make it so it's blocked so they can't turn it off. So it's totally customizable for the users.
Yeah, and another thing to think about too, security is something that everybody's so concerned about nowadays. This is all stored in GCP. It's encrypted in transit and at rest for that data. And the other benefit of Dialpad is we actually do not charge for the call recording, the audio recording, or the transcription for that retention. So there's a lot of our competitors that, after ages, to a certain point, that you're going to start incurring fees. We will let our users keep that for as long as they possibly want, so they can continually data mine it for years to come.
Perfect. So customize retention policies for those customers. That's great. Well, thank you so much, Dialpad. We're at the time. We appreciate your participation today. Truly innovative and pushing the envelope in terms of solutions for both the UCaaS space as well as CCaaS space, right? Impacting that call center environment. So we appreciate you today. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Chris. Great demo. And enjoy the rest of the day. We'll head back over to the main stage now.